How's it going, everybody? Well, it's about time to work on old Red here. I got to noticing the other day that when I set the parking brake, this is a 5-speed by the way, that it wasn't holding anymore. I'd had some issues before with the cables underneath, and let's see if I can get under here where you can see the intermediate cable, which goes from the one that comes down from the floorboard back to the actual, I guess you'd call these the actuating cables for the left and right side rear brake shoes, had broken a while back, and I'd actually fabricated another one to fix it, and I thought I had just had this clamp right here slip. So in the process of snugging this up to put more tension on this, I got to noticing the pedal still didn't feel like it was doing anything, and when I pushed the pedal all the way to the floor, it didn't really pull up any slack in these straps that I had tightened down, just so I could feel a little bit of resistance when I moved the rear wheels. So upon further inspection, looking at the brake pedal, it would go down, but then whenever you pull the release lever, it would not spring back up. So that means I got to get under here, and according to the repair manual I've got to take the negative battery cable loose, which I just did, pull the fuse box out of the way, and there's a bolt on the side of the bracket over here. I got my light in here, sorry. I'll show you a little bit better here in a minute. And take the 3 bolts loose and pretty much pull the entire emergency brake or parking brake, I guess it'd be parking brake, assembly out of there, so I can tell what's going on with the cable on the back side. It doesn't feel like that primary cable is still attached, and it's actually attached on the back side between the gear mechanism and the side of the kick panel, or whatever you want to call this down here. And you can't even see it until you get the brake pedal and stuff off. So according to that manual, you have to unbolt the fuse block, take all the bolts and stuff out of the, I guess it's the nuts off of the studs, and then pull the whole assembly off. So, and of course it's Saturday. It's like 95 degrees out here, and I'm out in the boiling sun. It's around lunchtime, so you'd think I would have picked a little bit cooler day to do this. Yeah, it's 12:45. So, needless to say, it's smoking hot out here. But anyway, I'll take some more footage whenever I get the light and stuff underneath there, and I can show you what's going on with the bolts and everything to get the mechanism loose. And we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I don't have to go to town to get some more parts or anything, because I doubt anything's open today to get those cables or something. I may have to order them off Rock Auto or something like that. But I at least got to pull the assembly out to see if the end of the cable's broken or what's going on. So, bring you guys back when I've got something else to show you. Take care. Okay. The fuse block actually has a couple of snaps up on the corners that you pull out, and then there's a pivot point on the back of it, and it kind of slides up out of the holder here. Not sure well. There's a lot of stuff in this little spot right here with the clutch pedal and everything else. Get the darn light up in here where you can see. Hang on a second. There's 2 studs that hold the bracket for that in. One is here, kind of like underneath the clutch pedal, and then there's another one over here on the side of the kick panel. So you have to remove that bracket, and then there's another bolt way up in here, a stud right there, and I'm not sure if there's one up here above this wiring bundle or not, but that's what you got to take loose in order to take the pedal assembly out. So needless to say, it's pretty tight quarters. But I'm going to go ahead and start loosening these nuts up off these studs, and then I'll bring you back when I get this thing out and get it out to where you can see it a little bit better. So I'll bring you back here in just a second. Well, that was interesting. I tell you what, you got to be a contortionist to get this thing out of here. I mean, it's technically wedged there's like a crash bar or something right down here at the bottom. Looks like it's cast, and it's bolted into the dash, into the door jamb, up into the lower part of the dash itself. And you really got to twist and turn and pull on this thing, and you got to be real careful, because you got all your wire harness and stuff terminates right here at the fuse block, so that you don't rip some of those wires loose. And then turn this thing around sideways between the kick panel and the clutch pedal, and just slowly work this thing out of here. I finally got it out to the point now where I can disconnect this primary cable that goes down through the floorboard. I didn't see a way to get this thing loose. That would have helped get it out of here if you could get that thing out of there first to drop it straight down. I was having to fight the tension on that thing to pull this mechanism straight down out of the dash and then turn it. If I get it apart and I see there's an easier way to get this thing out, I'll put that in the video as well. But I got the mechanism out now, and I'm fixing to disassemble it, pull it loose, and see what's going on with the cable, and see if the mechanism or anything's working. That's one reason I wanted to try and leave the cable hooked up, so that I could tell if this is actually pulling on it, or if the end where it ties up here to the ratcheting mechanism's broken, or what the deal is. So as soon as I figure out what's going on with it, I'll bring you back and show you what the problem was. Take care. Well, I figured out what the problem was. The activator for the rear parking brake, here's the brake shoe. It's like one solid piece. It's held in place by a clip at the bottom, and the actuator has the lever which goes in the back side of it here. I've got it pulled out for clarity. It just sets in place, and you notice that little detent right there at the end of it operates a small rod which sets between these two pistons inside of there, kind of like this. And it's supposed to adjust out on this side. See if I can do this with one hand. As the shoe wears. And it says before you can take the hub off, you're supposed to run those shoes back in all the way. Well, the lever was pulled out as far as it would go, all the travel it had, but this was still adjusted all the way in like it was stuck, so therefore it wasn't expanding the brake shoes. I mean, there's still plenty of stuff on here. You can still see the numbers, but I don't think it was pushing it out far enough to engage the surface inside the rotor. So I took it all apart, cleaned it out with some brake clean, got all that old hard grease and stuff out there, and I'm going to re-lubricate it with some grease here, put everything back together, try the rotor on and off until I get just enough clearance on the brake shoe for the rotor to slide over it, and then put everything else back together on the dash and then try it again and see if that works. If it does, then I know what to do on the other side as well. So that's kind of what's going on. I'm not sure why this thing didn't adjust up like it's supposed to. It's got a little, like a little sheet metal deal over here. Of course, this whole thing was covered in rust when I took it apart. So a little lubrication and make this thing to where it moves. I think whenever it jacks the lever back and forth, it adjusts the brake shoes out somewhat. So we'll give everything a good coat of grease, put it all back together, and we'll see where we fall. I'll see you in a few. Okay, I got the driver's side put back together, tensioned the cables back up to where I had a little bit of drag, also tying the adjuster up on it to where I could just barely get the rotor back on it. And even then, with the brake pedal pushed down, the driver's side started working. The passenger side still, however, was loose. You could turn it by hand. Then I pulled the rotor and stuff off of it, and there is absolutely no friction media left on this thing. I mean, you couldn't have got it any smoother if you'd polished it. The rotor and everything looks fine inside. I didn't find any pieces of this stuff or anything, so evidently it's just ground it to dust. I would imagine since that adjuster on the driver's side was stuck and it wasn't pushing the pads out, it had relied on this one all these years, and finally it got to the point where it wasn't holding anymore because there wasn't nothing there to hold to. So problem solved. I just sent my uncle to AutoZone to get the rear parking brake shoes for this thing. $50 for these things. Of course, I kind of understand they're it's not like the pads or something that would be on the rotors. Excuse me, frog in my throat. So he'll be back with that, and while he's gone, I'll be pulling everything apart, cleaning up the adjusters and all this stuff. I mean, you can see all this grease and stuff. It's pretty well pooched. It's all solidified and hard. So I'm going to pull everything apart down inside the cylinder here and clean that, pull the adjusting arm out, clean all the grease off of that, put new high temp grease back in there for everything that needs it. See, this one actually had adjusted out some, so it's just a matter of a few, I wouldn't even call that centimeters. The difference between it being all the way up and not touching it and being all the way out and rubbing. So I'm going to work on getting this cleaned up, and he'll be back with the brake shoes here shortly, and I'll get it all put together. If I get it done before dark, we may go for a test drive. If not, it may be tomorrow. So I'll bring you guys back when I got her put back together and let you see the results. Take care.